to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video, and in this video, I'm going to simulate a trade between the New York Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last year I did this. It's called the Gettleman Project, where I just simulate a bunch of different draft scenarios that I could see the New York Giants being put through, and this year I wanted to do the project on potentially trading down for a quarterback. Obviously a team trading up for a quarterback rather, and us taking their spot, being that we have Daniel Jones, and I felt that we sat in a prime position to trade down this year, being that we're picking number 4 overall. There's a lot of quarterback-needy teams. Now, I wanted to wait till after free agency. I already did one on the Chargers, so if you want to go back and look, you could take a look at that video, but I'm going to do one on the Jaguars, I'll be doing one on the Raiders, and I'll be doing one on the Dolphins, because those are the only 4 teams right now, realistically, I could see trading up for a quarterback. The Bucs, of course, got Brady. The Colts got Phillip Rivers. The Panthers signed Teddy Bridgewater. So these are really the only 4 realistic teams, and some may argue that the Jaguars probably aren't very realistic. They've said that they're ready to commit to Gardner Minshew. Minshew played fairly well for them, but at the end of the day, he's a late-round pick, and I think if the Jaguars did fall in love with Tua or Justin Herbert, I think they certainly have the capability of trading up, and I wouldn't completely rule them out. Do I think they're the most realistic of the 4 teams? No. I would say that the Chargers or the Dolphins. And a lot of this is dependent, of course, on the Lions and the Redskins. If they don't trade down, of course, the Giants now become the prime destination. If the Jaguars viewed Tua as a can't-miss prospect, they would obviously have to trade up and jump those 2 teams. If the Raiders viewed Tua as, or Turbot, or whoever it may be, they'd have to trade up and jump those 2 teams. And if the Giants were the landing spot, well, in this video, I'm going to go over what picks I think they would get and what players they could potentially take with those picks. I'll go over the first 3 picks for the Giants, because in this trade, I'm going to have the Giants getting the 9th and 20th overall selection. The Jaguars, of course, have 2 first-round picks. And if you're a Jaguar fan watching this video and saying there's no way they'd ever give up that, well, go back and look at prior trades. Look at trades when it involves a quarterback in the first round. I'm not even going to go over the Robert Griffin trade. I did a video simulating this, so you go back and watch that one as well, but I'll do my best to explain it. Generally, when a team trades down early in the first round and a team is moving up to acquire a quarterback early in the first round, the team trading up gives up, on average, about 25% in addition to the points that are on the point chart. Now, if you're not aware of what the point chart is, well, this is the point chart that all the GMs go by. The Giants sit in the Oakland Raiders position on this chart. They're picking 4th overall. This is a chart from 2 years ago where the Jets were 3rd, the Giants were 6th. But all we care about is the point system here. The Raiders were picking at 4th, where the Giants are now. That is worth 1,800 points. But like I said, generally, when you're getting a quarterback, tack on an additional 25% to that. So that bumps that up to 2,250. You go back and look at the trade for Sam Darnold. That was about what they got. They got 3 second-round picks, and they traded from 3 to 6. So they got the 6th and 3 additional seconds. The same could be said for Josh Allen. It was about a 25% rate of return, meaning add 25% of the points of the 1,800 on top of that. 25% of 1,800 is 450, making that worth 2,250 points historically if you're trading up for a quarterback. Well, the Jaguars pick at 9, and they pick at 20. The 9th pick is worth 1,350. The 20th pick is worth 850. You add those 2 numbers together, you get 2,200. I said that we were worth about 2,250 if you're moving up to get a quarterback, so it almost works out perfectly. So, if this trade were to take place, and like I said, the Jaguars certainly have the capability of doing it, being that they have 2 first-round picks, one at number 9, one at number 20. It's certainly a big drop-down for the Giants, but where the Giants are picking, this is actually a perfect spot to fall down to, and I'm going to explain why in this video. But who would I take? Well, I'll go over a couple scenarios at each individual position. At number 9, I'm going with an offensive tackle if Simmons isn't there. And it all depends on my draft board. Let's just say, hypothetically, I had Andrew Thomas and Jedrick Wills, far and away the best tackle prospects in this year's draft. And then I had Wirfs, a little further down. Then maybe I don't go with an offensive tackle. But if Andrew Thomas is far and away my best prospect, or Jedrick Wills, and they're there, I'm taking them. However, if Isaiah Simmons were to fall, it certainly becomes a question, just like it would at 4. And it's not completely impossible that he couldn't, because you look, if a team were to trade up to 4 like the Jaguars would, obviously take a quarterback there. You'd have the Chargers and the Dolphins behind him. Now, there's a strong possibility the Chargers, if the Dolphins were to take the other quarterback, could definitely take Simmons. But if they were to pass, you never know, right? At number 8, you figure the Cardinals are definitely going offensive line. 7, the Panthers could certainly take Simmons. I would say there'd be a 20% chance Simmons would even be here. So the more realistic approach here that I think the New York Giants would take, they would go with their best possible offensive tackle at number 9 overall. Because if you wait till 20, you could have all, the consensus top 4 tackles off the board. You may even have the top 5. A lot of people think the Dolphins at 18 could take Jones if the top 4 are already off the board. So you need an offensive tackle. If you're picking at number 9, I think it's a no-doubter. I think every New York Giant fan is happy in this situation. You get the need that we have. You get him at the right pick at number 9. Whether it's Thomas, Becton, Wills, or Wirfs, I think every Giant fan would be happy on draft night if we fell down to number 9 and got our offensive tackle. So with the first pick, unless Isaiah Simmons is there, it's not even a debate, in my opinion. You go offensive tackle. Then, at pick number 20, after you get Andrew Thomas, it opens up some possibilities. And these are guys that wouldn't normally be on our radar, picking where we are at 4 and 36. But because we traded down to 9 and got pick 20 along with it, that opens up the possibility for a guy like K'Lavon Chaisson, who I love out of LSU. Incredibly versatile player, arguably the second best pass rusher in this year's draft. He may not be there, but I've seen some mocks where he definitely drops down to 20. And this is a guy that you could pair with the offensive tackle. You get your pass rusher, a guy with high upside, a high motor, a guy that I really like. He could play on the inside, he could play on the out. Let's say Chaisson's not there, or let's say the New York Giants say we want a linebacker. We'd rather have the linebacker, other than Chaisson. Well, then you get a guy like Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma. Now, he could definitely go 19, but it's certainly possible he could be there at 20. And I would think one of these two players, there's a strong possibility would be there. And if they weren't, well, then you pick your next best defensive player. If you're going offensive tackle at 9, you're going to try to get an impact defensive player at 20. And I think both of these gentlemen are candidates at that spot. Other names you could throw out there, AJ Epinesa, Gross Matos. There's a number of other players as well. But these would be the two guys I'd definitely be looking at. Maybe a guy like Patrick Queen. You fill in either a linebacker position or you get yourselves a nice pass rusher there with K'Lavon Chaisson. So now you've got a defensive presence. You got an offensive tackle. Now, what do you do at 36? Obviously, we've got 3 top 36 picks now after making this trade, and we filled a lot of holes. Well, you could either A, double up at the defense. Let's say now you want to get a versatile linebacker. You could get a guy like Bourne. You could also go with a safety. I didn't even put his picture. You go Grant Delpit. You could double down on the defense with your offensive tackle. You definitely could do that. We definitely need a safety. The other option, if you don't go with defense, let's say option A is Andrew Thomas, K'Lavon Chaisson, or Murray and Zach Bourne, or Grant Delpit. That's option A. If you don't double down on the defense at this pick, well, you could go with an impact wide receiver because you've already filled 2 needs. If T. Higgins is there, which a lot of people think he potentially could be, and the Giants have him ranked very high on their chart, I wouldn't be opposed at all to taking a wide receiver in this situation if the Giants are in love with him and they think he could be a high-impact player for the next 10 years because you've already gotten your tackle. You've already gotten your, your edge rusher or your linebacker. Would it be my first choice? No. I continue to say that wide receiver is a very deep position in this year's draft, but it's not something I would cry about on draft night because we've already filled 2 very important needs. And then, obviously wide receiver is a need going forward, a tall threat, a guy that could go up and get the 50-50, a player a lot of people like. You can name another wide receiver here that's maybe a guy like Justin Jefferson if he fell, someone like that. That's your other option. And then finally, your last option is to double up on the offensive line. And this is certainly something I would not be opposed to. Everybody knows that I love the hog mollies. Dave Gettleman loves the hog mollies. And a guy like Cesar Ruiz, a guy like Tyler Biadasz. In this scenario, you could conceivably have your left tackle of the future with Andrew Thomas or Jedrick Wills or Tristan Wirfs, and you could get your center with a guy like Cesar Ruiz or Tyler Biadasz. So you got 2 strong hog mollies, and then at pick 20, you get your defensive presence. Or you could double down on the defense, like I said, or get a wide receiver. There are a lot of possibilities. My personal opinion, the one that I would like best, I would like to end up with a guy like Wills or Thomas at 9 or Wirfs. Or Becton, whoever they decide is, the most worthy offensive lineman at that pick. At number 20, I would like to get K'Lavon Chaisson. I would love him. He's versatile. I think he'd fit this defense perfectly. If not him, an impact linebacker like Queen or Kenneth Murray. And then at the last pick, I actually would go with the center if I got my defensive presence there at number 20. You get yourself a nice young center with Cesar Ruiz if he's there to pair with Andrew Thomas. You got two very nice young pieces going forward. If he's not there, I probably double down at the defense and get Grant Delpit or someone like that at the safety position. But there's a lot of ways you could go here if you make that trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it's why I've been very much in favor of trading down if I were the New York Giants from the start, because the New York Giants have so many holes to fill, and this trade scenario would give them the ability to get 3 impact starters for next year's roster, very much similar to what they did last year when they had pick 6, 17, and then they traded up for 30. Well, you'd have pick 4, 20, and 36. So this is a very interesting scenario. Not 4, rather, 9, 20, and 36. So this is a very interesting scenario where the Giants could fill a lot of holes early on in the draft for their football team. So I want to make a quick video on it and let you guys know the types of players that I think the New York Giants could be looking for if they made this trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.